All right, so you're interested in Four Cousins wine. Want to know more than just what's on the label? Well, get ready for a deep dive into how this South African brand became a global name.
It's really a fascinating story.
Yeah, it really is. We're looking at an article from August 2018, Four Cousins Wine Comes of Age.
Oh, nice.
It's all about family, entrepreneurship, and connecting with wine drinkers everywhere.
It's amazing how they bottled that casual, fun feeling. You don't see that much in the wine world. It's usually all about being fancy or exclusive. Four Cousins did things their own way.
Totally. And it all starts with, well, four
Well,
cousins.
makes sense.
Henny, Neil, Bussell, and Philip Retief.
Oh, okay.
Third generation running Van Loveren. That's their family vineyard in South Africa's Breede River Valley.
Ah, the Breede River Valley. Beautiful.
Now, this region is known for its diverse terroir,
Uh-huh.
fancy term for everything that affects the grapes.
Right, like the soil and climate.
Exactly. It makes South African wine so unique.
It's more than just sunshine and pretty hills, though they definitely have those. The Breede River Valley has a special mix of soil types, altitudes, and microclimates.
You're right, it's a special place. So the cousins grow up in the vineyards, learning the business from a young age. But they weren't content to just follow tradition. They actually got degrees in winemaking and business, came back in the mid-90s, and decided to change things up.
That's really cool. I can see why they were so successful. They had all the skills they needed.
Yeah, they were prepared.
Definitely.
They saw an opportunity for a wine that was approachable, enjoyable, something you could share with friends at a barbecue.
I like that. Very down to earth.
That's how Four Cousins was born in 2000. It was a bold move, especially in the traditional, often quite formal world of wine.
I can imagine.
And they did something even bolder. They put their faces on the label.
Wow, that's really putting yourself out there.
It's like saying, we believe in this so much we're putting our faces on the line.
It's such a personal touch. You don't see that very often.
It was a risk, but it really got across their message of authenticity and personal connection. In a market full of brands with no face, they chose to show their family and stand behind their product.
It's like a guarantee, like they're saying, we're so confident in this wine, we're putting our faces on it.
Exactly.
And it clearly worked.
Big time. Fast forward to today, and Four Cousins is the top-selling bottled wine brand in South Africa, enjoyed in over 62 countries. A long way from a family vineyard in the Breede River Valley.
It's proof that finding your niche and connecting with people personally can make a huge difference. They weren't trying to please everyone, just making a wine for those who wanted something easy to enjoy and share.
And speaking of connecting with people, they hit their 18th anniversary back in 2018 and decided to give the brand a makeover. The article quotes Philip Retief, the CEO of Van Loveren Family Vineyards, talking about how tough that was.
I bet.
Rebranding a popular brand is a tricky thing.
You're right. You want new customers, but you don't want to lose your old ones. It's a balancing act.
And this wasn't just a small change. They updated the labels for their still wines and gave their sparkling wines a whole new look. Philip Retief talks about how much thought went into keeping the brand's spirit while making it feel fresh.
Yeah, because you can't just throw away everything that people loved about the original brand.
Exactly. He also talks about their diverse audience, which makes rebranding even harder. You've got folks who've been drinking Four Cousins for years, and then you've got younger folks just discovering it.
So how do you appeal to everyone? That's the big question.
It's like, how do you create a look that speaks to both?
Exactly. It's finding that sweet spot where you update the look without losing the core fans. Really interesting to see how they did it, and I'm sure we'll get into that as we go along.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And speaking of getting into it, let's move on to their marketing strategies and how they built such strong brand loyalty. This fifth cousin idea keeps popping up, and I'm really curious about it.
Yes, the fifth cousin. That's where it gets really interesting. They turned marketing into a real community. It's not just selling wine, it's making people feel like they belong, like they're part of the Four Cousins family. That's marketing gold.
All right, let's pour ourselves another glass and get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about the cousins, their background, their bold move with the label. But how did they actually build this global wine empire?
Right. There's got to be more to it than a catchy name and a friendly label.
Yeah, I mean, what's the secret sauce?
Well, one thing that really jumps out is how they focused on approachability. They knew the wine industry could be kind of intimidating.
Yeah, especially for new drinkers.
Exactly. So they made wines that were, easy to understand, enjoyable, fun even.
Like they took all the snobbiness out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, let's just relax and have a good time.
That's smart because it brought in a whole new group of people who might have felt left out before.
Exactly. They weren't afraid to, shake things up a bit.
Hmm.
And you see that in their packaging, their marketing, everything. Bright colors, playful language, images that make you feel warm and fuzzy.
It's like they're saying, come on in, the water's fine.
Exactly.
And that Fifth Cousin campaign, that's a perfect example. People really feel like they're part of the Four Cousins family. How'd they do that?
Well, think about it. Everyone wants to belong, right?
Yeah, it's a basic human need.
They tapped into that. They built a community, not just through marketing, but through what they did. They talked to people on social media, hosted events, made people feel like they were part of something special.
Like a club where the membership fee is just buying a bottle of wine.
Exactly. And the more you buy in, the more you feel like family.
It's brilliant.
It's more than just marketing, though. It's authenticity. People see that the cousins are real people, passionate about their product, their heritage.
And Philip Retief really emphasizes that in the article. He says family is the foundation of everything they do. It's not just a line, it's woven into the company.
It's one thing to talk about family values, it's another to live them. And that's what makes Four Cousins so compelling. They actually walk the talk.
Okay, so they've got this great product, a strong brand, a real connection with their audience. But how do they get their wine on shelves all over the world? Was it just word of mouth?
They had a plan, for sure. They built strong relationships with distributors, retailers, both in South Africa and internationally. They knew getting into key markets was crucial.
And this was back in the early 2000s, before social media really blew up.
Right, so they had to be smart. Print ads, billboards, point-of-sale displays. They did wine festivals, industry events, anything to get their name out there.
Hustling.
Total hustle.
And they weren't just relying on one type of wine. They were always innovating, trying new blends, different varieties to appeal to different tastes and occasions.
Exactly. They knew they had to diversify to stay ahead, to capture more of the market. They weren't afraid to experiment, and that really helped them succeed.
You know, their timing was interesting, too. They launched right when South African wine was starting to get noticed globally.
Oh, absolutely. South Africa was coming out of isolation. People were excited about their wines, the quality, the value. Four Cousins were in the perfect spot to ride that wave.
So they had the product, the branding, the timing. It sounds like the perfect recipe for success.
Mm.
But it can't all be luck, right?
There's a lot of hard work there, a lot of smart decisions. They were always analyzing the market, listening to customers, adapting.
Like they were playing chess, always thinking a few moves ahead.
Exactly.
Speaking of strategic moves, let's go back to that rebranding. We touched on it earlier, but let's dig into the challenges and successes of updating such a beloved brand.
Ah, yes, the rebranding. It's all about balancing, keeping what works and bringing in the new.
Especially with that iconic label, the Four Cousins faces. How do you update that without losing what makes it special?
They were very careful. They did a lot of research, talked to customers, tried to figure out what people loved and what they wanted to see change.
And what did they find? Were people ready for a change or happy with the old look?
It was mixed. Some people loved the original, some thought it was getting a bit dated.
So they had to bridge that gap, make it feel familiar but fresh.
That's where the design team came in. They wanted to keep the key elements, the faces, the warm colors.
But modernize it.
Exactly. They streamlined the fonts, made the colors a bit brighter, added some texture to make the labels feel more premium.
So it was still Four Cousins, but with a more polished, modern look. Did anyone push back?
There were some mixed feelings at first, yeah. Some people weren't sure about the changes, but most seemed to like the new look.
It's funny how attached people get to brands. Even small changes can be jarring.
It's all about managing expectations, explaining why you're making the changes. Four Cousins did a good job of that. They said, look, we're evolving, but we're not changing who we are.
And they were doing more than just labels. They were launching new products, entering new markets, always pushing boundaries, finding new ways to connect with people.
That's the entrepreneurial spirit right there. They take risks, try new things, but always with a deep understanding of their brand and their audience.
So we've got this amazing story, this global reach, this incredible connection with customers. What's next for Four Cousins? Where do they go from here?
That's the big question. But knowing them, they'll keep innovating, adapting, finding new ways to surprise and delight their fifth cousins.
I'm excited to see what they come up with. But before we get too far ahead, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about other brands that have built that same kind of deep connection with their customers.
Oh, yeah, the masters of brand loyalty. There are some great examples out there. Big companies, small companies, each with their own way of building relationships and creating that sense of community.
I bet we can learn a lot from them, no matter what industry we're in or what we're selling.
Absolutely. It's all about understanding that human element of branding, tapping into those basic needs for connection, belonging, shared experiences.
All right, let's dive into those examples and see what makes them tick. So let's talk brands. Brands that have really nailed that feeling of connection. I'm thinking of Patagonia, known for their commitment to the environment.
Right.
Their customers aren't just buying jackets and backpacks. It's like they're buying into a whole philosophy.
It's a great example of a brand becoming a symbol, shared values. Patagonia's built a community around protecting the planet, and customers feel like they're part of something bigger.
Yeah, it's not just wearing the clothes, it's wearing your beliefs, like a badge of honor.
Exactly. That shared identity, it's powerful stuff, creates a deep connection between you and the brand.
Okay, so we've got Patagonia, shared values. What about aspiration, exclusivity, like Apple?
Apple, the masters of desire. They've built an image, innovation, style, premium quality. People aren't just buying gadgets, they're buying a lifestyle.
That feeling of being on the cutting edge, being different. And they've kept that going for decades.
Amazing, isn't it? It's almost like a cult following. People waiting hours for the new iPhone or MacBook.
It's not just the product, it's the whole ecosystem. The design, the interface, how everything works together. It's an experience.
And they've built a community, even with that exclusivity. The Apple stores, they're designed to be gathering places where people connect, share their passion.
Like a town square, but for techies.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's not just these huge global brands either. Think about your favorite local coffee shop. If the barista knows you, remembers your order, chats with you, that builds a connection you don't get from a big chain.
Those little interactions, they matter. They make you feel like a person, not a number. It can be just as powerful as a big marketing campaign.
It's that human touch, creating a sense of belonging, whether it's global like Patagonia or Apple or local like that coffee shop.
And that's something any brand can learn from. Big, small, whatever industry. Understanding your customers, what they care about, what they want, and speaking to that.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Four Cousins and this whole idea of brand connection, what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think it's this. A successful brand, it's more than a good product or a catchy slogan. You have to connect with people emotionally, build a community, make them feel like they're part of something special.
It's about telling a story that resonates, being real, being transparent, sticking to your values.
Absolutely.
And when you do that, you create a brand that people don't just buy, they believe in.
Just like the Four Cousins. They took a family vineyard and turned it into a global name by tapping into that human need for connection, for belonging.
So next time you're picking a wine or clothes or even just deciding where to get coffee, think about the story behind that brand. What do they represent? How do they make you feel?
Because in today's world, the brands that really stand out, the ones that really succeed, are the ones that connect with us on a deeper level, the ones that make us feel like we're part of something bigger.
Absolutely. Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting.